True Talk Show with Inio Bot on Jesus House Radio. Let's have some true enlightening talk.
Okay, we have a caller. Let's see what's going on here. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hi, you're live on True Talk Show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, my name is Niema and I'm calling from Buckinghamshire.
Hi. So do you have a question or comment or something else?
Well, it's a comment and kind of like a question. It's to do with how churches handle children with like autism.
Autism, okay.
Yeah. I come from a church where we have a little girl who has a bit of autism. And sometimes it's with relation to the topic that was just brought up to do with religion and culture.
Okay.
By the child doesn't always understand everything and says to them, shut up, or she seems rude to the people.
Right.
And then the adults, based on our culture, end up smacking her. And not just smacking her, and sometimes she's a bit kind of segregated, because when she comes within the church, within the junior church, the way she relates to others is not the same way people would expect African children to behave. And that worries me a lot, that based on the topic I was brought up to do with culture and religion, if Jesus was around, how would Jesus handle it? And also in terms of our responsibility in protecting children, how, do you know what I mean? It's just with children and churches, sometimes as much as we go to church and we believe in Christ and we believe in love and all, there's still that cultural barrier, which also will eventually have an effect on this child later on.
Definitely. I mean, Iyo, did you want to say something about that in terms of there has to be, I guess, raising awareness of the sort of different types of children? Not all children will be able to understand and, fit in as well as others would.
One thing that we do say at Afruca is that culture and belief should never be a reason to abuse children. So whatever our cultural practices are, whatever our religious beliefs are, that should never be a basis upon which a child is abused. And child abuse will always be child abuse, no matter what the motivating factors are, whatever it is that's led them to do what they have done to that child.
Yeah.
So, it needs a lot of awareness raising in the communities as well as in the faith groups as well, because a lot of the faith group leaders are looked up to, but not all of them have the understanding and the capacity to lead their congregations or their followers in the right way. And what we find is that we often lean towards them on their limited knowledge and understanding, because sometimes people are doing what they're doing not quite realizing the impact it has on the victims, because they are victims, the children that are vulnerable and at the mercy of all of these people. So we have got group leaders, like talking about the children with disabilities. Sometimes what we do even makes the situation worse rather than helping or improving the situation. So sometimes a lot of people need to just own the fact that they don't know it all and that they need some help.
I think it's true. I mean, last week on the program, on the Women's Show, we actually talked about disability. And one of the things that came out was the fact that there is a lack of awareness in the whole of the sort of black community, because it's not something that we lean to. And there is a great necessity for, in particular, the churches where, the tendency is that everybody's perfect and you don't have anyone that has a disability. And there is, within the cultural elements, you tend to feel that, if somebody has a disability, it's because they've committed some great sin in their past or whatever. And it's nothing to do with that. What they need to understand is to understand the various segments of disability, what it means, why someone behaves in a certain way, and be open to be taught. And that's why an organization like Afruca needs to be able to have access into the various churches to actually deliver information, so that the more information you have, they say information is power, because I think that some of the churches are beginning to open up, but we need to open up more. And I think if there's any message that we're delivering today from this platform, is to say, please let us help ourselves, because the last thing that we need is for any one of our children to be taken into care unnecessarily.
Definitely.
I know Afruca is about retaining the child in the home and teaching the parent to parent the child.
Yeah. Definitely. The number to call listeners again, it's 07 999 563 045. We're talking with Afruca, Africans United Against Child Abuse, and it's quite interesting because many members of the African community, they're not really aware of child abuse procedures in the UK. So it's quite nice to have this opportunity to raise awareness and to enlighten some people who don't. So if you have any questions, any comments, that's the number to call, which is 07 999 563 045. We've just been talking about the pathways into care system. So we've talked about various forms of abuse, but how do parents then become culpable? So yes, you have a parent that's probably emotionally abusing a child or physically abusing a child. How then do they come to the notice of authorities?
Well, very often children go to schools and they make disclosures to their teachers saying that, oh, I didn't do my homework, so mummy made me face a wall or sit on this naughty step for 4 hours, or mummy hit me, there are different ways that it will come to the notice of local authorities. And, when a disclosure has been made, whoever it's been made to, there's a duty to refer, so that, if there are cases of abuse or there's a risk of significant harm to a child, local authorities have the chance to step in to protect that child, even from the parents, as well as every other person who's known to the child. So if anything's going on that puts a child at risk of harm, even if it's the parents, there will be intervention.
Okay.
More often than not.
And I guess that opens up families to be assessed by social workers. So a family will come into your home, they will look at family dynamics, what's brought this on. And I guess that process in itself is quite intrusive.
It is.
It's quite intrusive, and it's quite demoralizing. It can be, because they're asking you questions about, your daily routine, what you do in the mornings. Can I have a look at your fridge? Can I have access to your medical records, your children's medical records? So I think it's just something people to be mindful of, that it's not just, that's fine. Yes, you smacked your child. Yes, you left a bruise. Yes, the child has gone to hospital. That's fine. There is a knock-on effect, and knock-on effect will be, you'll be scrutinized by the local authority, and it could even go on to being arrested by the police, and it may lead to a custodial sentence. So I think it's just something people to be aware of, that the seriousness of this issue.
Yes, it is. Sometimes also when, we're being asked questions, with regards to our children, we're asked what's happened to your child, there's been allegations of this and that. It could be as a result of an accident or something innocent that just happened.
Good to say,
it wasn't abuse as such. And sometimes the way our people react to these questions could
raise suspicions.
Raise suspicions.
And make you think that you're hiding something when in actual fact you're not. And so of course it now makes them want to look more. Whereas if something is an accident, say it is. I think, if you tell them the story.
I had a personal experience a few years ago where I was making breakfast for my son, ready bread, and I was making it on the cooker, and I turned around to pour the ready bread onto the plate on the dining table. Same time my son ran into the kitchen and burnt his face. That was an accident. And I suppose what I could have done was to explain to the teacher when I was dropping him off that, he'd been a bit of an accident, and, keep an eye on him. When I went back to pick him up in the afternoon, I was asked to step aside, and they had a conversation with me, a couple of people, a teacher and someone else I didn't recognize. And they wanted to know what had happened to my son. I told them what happened. I was quite worried because I thought maybe he'd been upset all day long at school, and if he was still hurt, I was wondering. And they said to me that they needed to speak to me because, they have already spoken to my son, and he's given an account of what's happened, but they needed to speak to me as well.
To verify that.
To verify. And, that's all it was. And nothing happened. They didn't have to escalate it. It was just a conversation. For me, I felt quite secure, knowing that apart from me, there are other people looking out for my son's welfare. They're not related to him, but they're concerned about him. And sometimes we don't see beyond the fact that we're being questioned, and we could come across as a bit aggressive, even though we don't mean to be aggressive. So that's another area that we need as parents to take responsibility for how we deal with issues when they come to us.
Okay.
Are we cooperating? Are we doing things in the best interest of the child? Are you letting external stress factors override the issues at hand?
Okay, so I guess the learning for you in that situation is just to inform, whoever you're dropping your child off to, whether it's nursery school, the teachers, that kind of thing. Oh, by the way, this happened. Yeah, because
everyone's working together.
Because I'm just thinking, there was an incident I know of. A boy burnt himself with chip fat oil because someone threw some chips in a hot pan of oil. And there was nothing on his arm initially, because you know how fat burns, they take a while to appear. And I think 2 days later there was nothing, and then 3 days later something appeared. So someone asked, oh, how did this happen? And he said, oh, this happened, a chip fat burn. And I think lots of people are wondering, oh, okay, how come no one else saw this? What was going on? Why was this child concealing something, or why was everyone, why was there so, it seems like a clandestine affair, so I think it's just to, like you said, make someone aware of it.
I mean, it's very much like the fact that as a black person, if somebody strikes you, the darker you are, the more likely you're not going to show bruising, although the bruising is there. And the way in which you may chastise one child is not the way you would chastise another and get the same effect in terms of how it would come out. But I think what's fundamental about all these things that the government is doing to protect the child, what we're doing to protect the child, is to reduce the cost to society. And that is that with the child, you're going to get poor outcomes in its school, work, and its life. The child can be traumatized for future, and damaged for its future. I mean, you can imagine a child of 8 or 12 that is sexually abused. That damage is going to be there a very long time. There's a family breakdown as well, because the child may be taken away from its current home, and although the government requires from the legislation to put the child where the child is with people of their kind, that may not always be possible. So the child is being brought up where they can best place that child. And so therefore you've got the child being separated from its normal situation, displaced, losing its roots. And it causes a lot of community devastation and fragmentation as well.
The True Talk Show with Inio Bot on Jesus House Radio. Let's have some true enlightening talk.